We'll start in a couple of seconds, possibly.
The other students already wrote some messages. They're impatient.
Okay.
That's good.
Right.
That's a good
that's
sign.
good to know. That's good.
Okay. Well, welcome. Welcome to a conversation with Dr. Muhammad Yunus. My name is Sanjay Paul, and I am Associate Professor of Economics at Elizabethtown College. In 1983, Dr. Yunus established the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh to help poor people, especially women, escape poverty by providing them loans to finance small business ventures. The model proved to be remarkably successful, and today, variations of Grameen Bank can be found in more than 100 countries. Elizabethtown College's association with Dr. Yunus began with a visit to the college when he delivered a series of lectures on social business. We have sent a student to the summer internship program at the Yunus Center in Dhaka. I have taken students to the Yunus Center on a study tour, which was done in collaboration with my colleague, Dr. Jan Roscher from Constance University in Germany. We were assisted in this by Salman Habib, an alumnus of the college. Salman is also instrumental in setting up today's talk, along with Shabir Ahmad of the Yunus Center. Dr. Yunus was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006 for his work on poverty alleviation. More recently, he has sketched out his particular vision for humanity. In his book, A World of Three Zeros, he argues that we should and we can eliminate the scourges of poverty and unemployment and bring down net carbon emissions to zero. He has also forcefully advocated for an equitable distribution of COVID-19 vaccines globally. We are delighted to rekindle our long-standing association with Dr. Yunus. Today's program,
Thank you.
Certainly. Today's program is as follows. Dr. Yunus will give a talk, followed by Q&A, moderated by students from Elizabethtown College and Constance University. Closing remarks will be delivered by Dr. Roscher. And now I invite Dr. Yunus to make his presentation. Dr. Yunus.
Thank you, Sanjay. It's good to be back with the Elizabethtown College. We had a very close connection. You already narrated that. We enjoyed it, and students remember the visits and the discussions and so on. So I'm delighted that I could come back and reconnect our former relationship, strengthen it, which kind of gotten a little bit away from each other. So this is a good time to reconnect. It's a pandemic time. Lots of issues have been emerging because of the pandemic. And we see a world that, in a very different way of looking at the world. And seeing what is happening give us a new occasion for reflections. Why things that happen the way it happened, despite the fact we expected different. And why our ideas kind of fell apart and pandemic could not uphold our expectations. First one to mention that our expectation about this is becoming a global village, and the technology has brought us so much close. We can hear each other, feel each other next to each other. And the whole world distance disappeared for every single way. But when pandemic hit us, and hit us very hard, it spread to the world immediately, instantaneously almost. But reaction that we would be expecting, a global attack by an enemy, would be resisted by a global response. It didn't happen. And while we are talking about the global village, suddenly we saw there is no village. The closeness and the distanceless relationship that we are imagining, feeling excited that for the first time, whole world could be imagined as one village. Everybody known to each other, everybody feels for each other. And then we make it very clear right away. That's absolutely wrong. We emerged very clearly that we are not a global village. We are a collection of isolated islands, each busy with itself rather than taking care of the next island or wherever they are. They couldn't care less what's happening to the other islands. So that's a new realization that this thing didn't exist. And we saw how millions and millions of people became jobless, losing livelihoods, losing income, losing homes because they couldn't pay the rent. And it happened right away. There was no mechanism to address them, no matter how carefully chalked out economic system we built. That system is completely unable to take care of this. And bulk of the population always live at the bottom of the income scale. That's always true. It never happened differently. When I say bulk, it may be 90%, 90%, 99% of the people live at the bottom part of the income scale. These people, we thought they are as bottom as they could get. But the pandemic came, they pushed further down. The entire segment of population went further down. People who were above the poverty line struggled their way to come above the poverty line. Somehow we're celebrating the fact that poor people are coming out of the poverty line. Suddenly, in a few weeks' time, they are pushed back downwards again, and in a big way. And I don't know how many years it will take, how many decades it will take for them to again get over the poverty line, get their existence revived and above the poverty line. While those people are losing jobs, millions, even billions around the world. At the same time, there's about 2 years, less than 2 years' time, this happened. At the same time, few people who control all the wealth of the world, in the income scale, they are up in the sky or even at the outer space. They're so far away. They hold the title to more than 99% of the wealth in their control. These people were accumulating trillions of extra dollars during the same period. Their wealth and income is increasing, while the bottom people are losing massively. So that's the nature of the economic machine that we have. And pandemic revealed it very clearly. And then we saw the global warming becoming something that is intolerable, pushing us into a direction that we cannot recover from. And this came very vividly, because also documented very vividly. IPCC report just told us we have 20 years left to reach 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature for the planet. 1.5 degrees Celsius is important because that's where the red zone begins. Our very existence of the planet, very existence of any life form on this planet is at stake. So it's only 20 years. And this is a scientific report. This is not a kind of a editorial comment or something. It is something after all the research they have done, summary of this is presented. And in terms of a global scale, time scale, 20 years is nothing. It's like a split second. And that's the distance we are having now. This is the time. And it's shown while we are having this situation during the pandemic, a continuation of the old system of global warming. We see our house is burning, but inside the house, we see people having parties, enjoying themselves about the economic successes and all the things that they say about bringing fourth industrial revolution coming, all the beautiful images they are creating and celebrating for that. Ignoring the fact the very house under which roof you are celebrating, that house is on fire. Completely oblivious, have no attention at all. So this is the situation that we see, we look at it. It became vivid because suddenly pandemic brought the whole economic machine to stall. It doesn't work anymore. That's the situation we have. And governments and policymakers are sweating to make sure we can restart this machine so that we can get back to the economy which used to be at the pre-pandemic level. So we are desperate to go back to the pre-pandemic level of economic activity because they don't like this stalling of the engine, economic engine. And I try to plead with everybody, for God's sake, please don't try to go back to the pre-pandemic situation. That was a terrible situation. And we are lucky that the machine has stopped. We can even think about, we were riding a fast train and celebrating our successes and economic growth and so on, enjoying ourselves inside the train. But the train was rushing towards the last station of our existence. And pandemic has stopped the train. Now we are free to step down from the train and look around. Should we go back to the train again when the engine starts running? Or we stay away and catch or build a new train to take us to someplace else? Because this train, the destination is very clear. It's a complete extinction for us. We don't have much time left. So if you ride on the same train, go back to the pre-pandemic situation, you only complete that journey which is waiting for us, 20 years or 30 years, whatever is left for us, and that will be the end of the journey. So our opportunity provided by the pandemic is unprecedented opportunity, because now we don't have to force the engine to stop. Engine is stopped by itself because of the pandemic. So all we have to do is to build a new engine to take us to new direction, a new train to take us to new destination. So this is the time to build a train and design the destination. What is the destination that we want to go? The previous train was taking us to end result with the global warming. It was the end result with the explosive situation created by wealth concentration. As I was explaining, it's continuing. The top people, handful of people who hold all the wealth, and the people at the bottom, the distance between these two levels is getting wider and wider every second. It's not something fixed, something static. It's a very dynamic process. All the time they are moving up and the people are left at the bottom. They have no place to go, but they are moving. The top people are moving up. So how to undo this, how to reverse this process? That's the question that we have to solve during this pandemic period. And the last one, these are the problems. The last one is a massive unemployment waiting for us. The process has begun. It's not perceptible now, but people are getting ready for this. And they are speculating what the great thing coming, fourth industrial revolution is coming because of the artificial intelligence. It will give us enormous capacity to replace human being, to do everything, not just in the factories and offices, in every single mode of life. Artificial intelligence will take over, human being will be abandoned. So what happens to these abandoned people who are totally unemployed for do anything? I said they will turn into garbage. So artificial intelligence is taking us in that direction. If you go back, they will be activating themselves to take us to complete the process. So these are the dangerous path that we are taking, and we are lucky that it stopped. We are lucky that we can now design something absolutely new to go other direction, because old roads will always take us to the old destination. So it's our task to build new roads to reach the new destination. That's the direction that we want to go. And this is what exactly we did unknowingly some 45 years back. We wanted to see that why banks don't lend money to poor people. They're always argued with us, poor people are not bankable. It's a foolish thing to think to lend money to poor people. They are not creditworthy. They don't have that capacity to hold credit in their hand. So that's why banking system doesn't go anywhere near that. We didn't buy that statement. We went ahead and created something to lend money to poor people and show that it can be as good, as robust, even better than the financial system exists today, because they can take the money, create their own opportunities, and return the money with interest so that the financial institution becomes a robust institution. That's the institution which we call Grameen Bank. Grameen Bank demonstrated it, practiced it, expanded it all over Bangladesh. The idea spread everywhere. So what Grameen Bank has done, defied all the existing norms and practices and the ideas about banking and pushed it away and created its own norms and practices to do, which was not done by the conventional banks. So that's another way. The old roads will always end up with the old destination. So we created our own roads and created a new destination to make it happen. Not only we do it in Bangladesh, within the United States, Grameen America, many of you are familiar with that, you can Google it. Grameen America has been working for the last 12 years. And by now, it has over 160,000 borrowers in USA with 27 branches in 15 cities in the USA. New York, Boston, Houston, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Miami. In all, 15 cities with 27 branches, serving 160,000 borrowers, 100% women. The startup loan is someplace $500, $700, $1,000. That's about it. In total, it has given over $2 billion in loans to all these women, with nearly 100% recovery all this period. No collateral, no guarantee, no introduction by some famous people and important people. They just identified themselves. Most of them don't even have documents. These mostly undocumented people, because they are the most destitute in the US society. So we gave the money to people who don't have any documents, no identity, without any collateral, and having the money back 100%. So this is the idea that it can be done. And for all the problems we are saying, the problems are known. This is nothing I'm saying extra addition, only I'm putting the context in the pandemic context. Problems are well known, well defined, well identified. Solutions are also known. How to handle global warming, everybody knows how to handle global warming. How to handle wealth concentration, everybody knows how to do that. And unemployment and the artificial intelligence. So these are not new phenomena. These are known phenomena with the known solutions. The problems are known, solutions are known. But we don't do it. We just continue with the same old ways and same old things. That's what the shake-up, if the pandemic can shake us up to wake up, that global warming, the house has to be protected from the fire, first duty. And then everything else we can do because all the norms are already set. We can do that. So we have to create that world, which we call a world of 3 zeros. 0 net carbon emission, 0 wealth concentration, and 0 unemployment by unleashing the entrepreneurial capacity of all human beings. And that's the direction that we want to go. So I'll stop here and then let you ask questions on the issues that I have raised. If you have any further issues that you want to bring up, please feel free to do that. Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yunus. I will now very briefly introduce our two moderators. Jared Beachy is an international business student from Elizabethtown College, and Jessica Weber has just recently graduated from Constance University with a degree in business management. And these two folks are the ones who are going to bombard you with questions, Dr. Yunus. So I turn it over to Jared.
All right, Jared.
Thank you so much. And I just want to begin with saying how much we appreciate you taking your time to speak with us. And I also just, to our audience, we encourage questions. So in the Q&A section in Zoom, please feel free to type any questions you have. In the meantime, I will ask a question that we have predetermined for you, Dr. Yunus.
Right.
So as you mentioned, the recent pandemic amplified issues that were already a problem. And these issues include poverty, unemployment, and net carbon emissions, the three topics that you explored in your book, A World of Three Zeros. So building off of this, what sort of global leadership is needed to build a new train, as you mentioned in your talk, in order to get to the 3 zeros?
Well, the first thing, we need young people. People whose mind is not contaminated by the old thinking. It is the old habits and old thinking and old way of doing things. Is the old road that I'm talking about. If you want to get out of that old road, you need a fresh mind who can think about the new roads, new buildings, and new destination where we want to go. So the young people is the key. If you are under 35 or even probably 40, you have a chance. Younger you are, better you are, because you're less contaminated. Because if you go to school, now you're graduating and all the old thinking has been pumped into your mind, contaminated your mind completely. And you'll find difficulty to get rid of it. Before that happens, that's the best chance. I have been raising this question and again. I said, why do we tell the young people to get ready to get the best job? Is the job is the destiny of human being? Is this what you're telling them? I said, that's a shame. A job is a new form of just slavery. Human being is not made for slavery. Human beings packed with unlimited creative capacity. That's what the human identity is all about, creativity. Job starts with surrendering creativity. Creativity and job doesn't go together because job by definition is obedience, submission to rules, regulations, orders, and go by the dictates of the authority. That's not what the human beings are all about. Human beings are born as hunters and gatherers, as problem solvers, and that's what the entrepreneurial ability is all about. So they are born as entrepreneurs. So this education system has robbed them out of the entrepreneurship to create a mindset into these young people for the submissiveness, surrender. So I said, that's a wrong start. So before that process can take place, that you are told that only route you have is to get a job. The better job you get, more celebrations you get. I got a good job. For the first time, we don't want the job. We want the entrepreneurship. So how to rebuild that entrepreneurship? People ask me the question, oh, all people are not born to be entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is a rare quality, rare talent. I said, please don't tell me that. I'm coming from microcredit. I give tiny loans to poor people, particularly poor women. With those tiny loans, they don't look for jobs. They become entrepreneurs. Every microcredit represents an entrepreneur. If illiterate women in remote village with a $30 loan, a $50 loan, $100 loan can become an entrepreneur and successful one and pay back the money with interest and take again and again and again and do the same thing and expand her business. Don't tell me that human beings are not entrepreneurs by nature. We didn't train them to be entrepreneurs. All we did is put the money. So it's a financial institution which is at the root of all the trouble. This financial institution is supporting the people who will be employing them. So they get bigger and bigger because bigger you are, financial institution will give you bigger money so that you can hire other people. But they will not give you a penny when you're looking for becoming an entrepreneur. So we created an alternative path, microcredit institutions, who can give the money so that you can become an entrepreneur out of nowhere, nothing. No understanding what a business is all about, but you become an entrepreneur and a successful one too. So these are the things I said, the point I was making is the young people and uncontaminated people who will become entrepreneur, who will design the world they like, not the world they have inherited from their parents and previous generation. Then if you're inheriting and continuing, you're finished because the road is finished. This is what the point I was to make.
Thank you very much for that. Okay. In your talk, you spoke about the new roads we need to find to get to new destinations. So I'm gonna ask a question which is quite literal about that. We are currently in the pandemic, so many of us are working from home. We are doing remote work. So would you say that a remote work is some kind of corporate social responsibility tool since we find our new ways in uncertain times?
Well, social responsibility, corporate social responsibility is a technical term. It's about money. It's not about responsibility for the society or something like that. CSR, corporate social responsibility, represents this amount of money which companies either forced to do that or volunteer to do that, put a fraction, small fraction of their profit set aside to do good things for the people. Because they know for the rest of the company, they're not doing good things. They're doing bad things rather. So as an afterthought, they say, okay, we made some money, so let's give a little bit to do some good things for people. So that's CSR, corporate social responsibility. So I don't see how technology that you mentioned about the communications and so on can be a big force in that. So what I'm saying, yes, technology can be helpful if you change your mind on the entire thing, not just tiny little piece that you come out of the businesses and try to help something, some token thing here, some token thing there, and busy with making money because the entire company is dedicated to profit maximization. Like during the pandemic, we see in the vaccines. Vaccines came, vaccine represented the total global knowledge to protect human being. So we, as a human being, we have the knowledge how to protect human being from the COVID-19. That knowledge is now available, but it has become a prisoner of profit. Wall has been built around that knowledge by profit maximizers. Companies want to maximize profit. So when we're appealing to the world, campaigning for the world, to make these vaccines patent free, free from commercial ownership, so that this knowledge can be shared by anybody, anywhere in the world to produce more vaccines wherever they can. There's a lot of capacity. But capacity that they have right now in the hands of the companies, very limited capacity. Even now, after more than a year, that they have, not more than about a year, the vaccine they have produced, 80% of this vaccines is taken away by 10 lucky countries, rich countries. Only 20% is left to the entire world. In the entire continent of Africa is left with only 2% vaccination. So this is the situation. If we rely on this production capacity, we'll never get to reaching out all the people. As we said, why don't you allow this vaccine to be produced? Anybody who has the capacity to produce anywhere in the world, just remove your patent right. They refuse to do that. So that's the wall of the maximization of profit. That's the kind of business behavior that we see in the world. So there, the question of social responsibility doesn't see much in practice.
Thank you so much. I think I agree with that, and you really made some excellent points. We have a question from the audience concerning, you mentioned before about creativity and critical thinking in order to develop entrepreneurs. So what suggestions do you have to help people, both of the younger generation and of the older generation, to develop these creativity and critical thinking skills?
First of all, create appropriate financial institutions, because for all creativity, particularly entrepreneurship, you need finance. But most of these young people are not born in families with finance that they can go and start business of their own. They are on the bottom level of the income scale, as I was explaining. 99% of the people are on that side. So finance is needed, whoever you are. You may be the richest person, you need finance. Richest person will easily get the finance. Richer you are, for financial institution, more attractive you are. They will be chasing you to give money. They'll be very happy to give you money. But if you are on the other side, you can chase the banks. They will not give you a penny. But entrepreneurship can function only with the finance. If you connect to finance, entrepreneurship comes up. So I can call finance as the oxygen of entrepreneurship. Apparently, someone looked very incapable, inactive, drowsy looking, doesn't have any initiative. You can say, how is he or she becoming the entrepreneur? He doesn't have any initiative. He doesn't care for anything. We are looking at a wrong picture. Because if you see the other picture, you connect this person who is totally half dead, connect them with the financial institution, suddenly he wakes up, become active, become creative. Because now it's worthwhile to bring up all the creativity. Now I have the oxygen in it and I can continue. So the financial institutions are designed to exclude them. That's where our struggle with the microfinance and everything that I was mentioning, to bring that finance to them at their terms, but still very robust to it, much even better performance than the conventional banks and so on. So, but still conventional banks go nowhere near them. You go around the world, you hear lots about microfinance, but you'll not see it in the banks. This is NGO activity most of the time. Why? If it is good, why aren't you doing that? You used to say they are not creditworthy. They have shown, despite all the problems of the pandemic and so on, in country like United States, their repayment is 100%. In country like Bangladesh, their repayment is 100% or near 100%, 98, 99%. What's the problem with you? And they pay you enough so that you can cover your cost. All these 27 branches, any branch is over the age of 3 years is self-sufficient, meaning they earn enough to cover all the cost of the branch, including the cost of the fund. So why aren't you doing that? So we are saying that the reason is The business they have learned is the business of profit maximization, like the vaccine business. They want to make business. They want to maximize profit. They don't care whether you live or die. That's not their business. So that's where we went wrong in the conventional business. Conventional business is profit maximizing business because the economics started with the premise that human beings are driven by self-interest. You see how narrow they made the human being? Human beings are driven by self-interest. You go to any economics textbooks 101, that's what they'll tell. They're driven by self-interest, meaning that all human beings are selfish. And their selfishness is expressed through the business by maximization of profit, ignoring the humanity. We are human beings, remember that. Sometimes we forget that we are human beings. That's our basic description. We are human beings. Human beings are supposed to be rich with the humanity. In economics, I'm sure in your economics textbook, you will not get that word humanity anywhere, even for a reference point. They will not say that because they will squeeze it out completely. So what kind of economics we are taught where we are not a human being? We're just a money-making robots. We make money, we sniff money, and we make money, that's it. So that's where the fault of this. So what we are saying, that come to the real human being who is driven by self-interest, we are not ignoring that. But at the same time, he is also driven by collective interest. We are also interested in collective interest. We want to see the problem of poverty solved, problem of environment, global warming solved. Economics doesn't say that. Who are you to solve the global warming? You make money, go ahead, sell as much fossil fuel as you want. That's your chance. Forget it, what happens to the world. And that's why we produce fossil fuel merrily. As I was saying, the house is burning. Inside the house, we are having celebrations of making money. This is one thing. So we describe that this other aspect that human beings are driven by collective interest. And that collective interest need a different kind of business, not the profit maximizing business. Because we are not interested in profit making. That's a collective interest. We are interested in solving collective problems, which is global warming, wealth concentration, and all the poverty, healthcare, you name it, old age, anything. So that's the collective interest. And you need a different kind of business. Business to solve problem without making money for yourself. That's a very strange business because people say, how can it be business? Where is the incentive in that? And I try to explain that, look, incentive is same. You need happiness. Making money is the happiness you design in the profit maximization. You make money, you feel happy. So making money may be happiness. That's why you're chasing that. But I'm saying making other people happy is a super happiness. So that's what your incentive. You do it because you enjoy it. You want to save the planet from the global warming. And that's why you're devoted your business to solve the problem of global warming. You have no interest in making money from them because you're driven by collective interest. So that's the social business that we are practicing, and we are asking young people to talk about it, learn about it, and whether Elizabethtown has any course in social business, that's what I was inquiring, to see whether it makes sense to you. If it makes sense to you, create them. And we have been creating them a lot and having that social business and so on. I said, we should be creating social business pharmaceutical companies. Why? Because these money-making pharmaceutical companies couldn't care less whether millions of people die or die, doesn't care. They want their money. So if we create a social business pharmaceutical company, we'll be producing vaccines to save people. That's our interest, not making money, but to cover the cost and saving people's life. So we need social business pharmaceutical company to produce vaccines, to produce drugs. Drugs are unnecessarily made expensive because it saves lives, so you are in trouble, so you have to pay. So in a social business pharmaceutical company, we'll be producing drugs and medicines for everybody, which will be affordable to everybody, because we don't want to make money out of it. That's not our interest. And it's possible, this is what it is done. So this is what the young people can do in a fresh thinking, fresh way of looking things and go in a different direction.
So thank you very much for that. I think that's really, really interesting. We have a lot of questions from the audience, but because of the timing issue, I will have to choose one. Maybe one which is to a really emotional level, because you spoke about the connectivity of the group. And sometimes young people, or not only young people, but many people feel stressed or not powerful because the way the roads are built and the way the things are. So what would you recommend for not feeling powerless and convincing the conservative people to change the routes?
One easy way for young people to get started: imagine the world. It doesn't create any problem for you. It's your world, in your imagination. Imagine the world that you want to live in. You want to leave behind for your next generation. What kind of world it would be? Go as much details as you like, because it's imagination. You don't have to be logical. Imagination is never logical. And it's like science fiction. You can go anywhere you want in a split second and do anything crazy because it's science fiction. We are so used to science fiction and we enjoy that. Everybody enjoys science fiction. You go to the movies to see science fiction. We see the series in the televisions with science fiction because it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense, but we love it because it's imagination. Unfortunately, while we enjoy science fiction, we have not created social fiction. Why don't we? Create social fictions. Because imagination is the mother of creation. If you don't imagine, you don't create. So be imaginative. Create your fantasies, imagination. If you don't imagine, it will never happen. If you imagine, it will happen someday. You want to go to the moon? We went to the moon. You want to go to Mars? We'll have a settlement in Mars. It's the reality. We want to connect with each other with internet, which didn't exist. We connected them. These are imagination. When it was in the part of the science fiction, we said, this is crazy. How can people do that? But we are doing that. So every science that you see, all the technology you see, it originated from some imagination. Why don't we do this? And that's why leads to everything. So for young people, the simplest thing, imagine that world. And if you imagine it, take the first step, tiny little step towards it. It's a symbolical step. If you want global warming to end, and I want to contribute in it as a young person, I believe in that, I can do that. And trees help us to stop the carbon dioxide because it creates oxygen. So I'll plant a tree. This is my symbolic action. I'm not changing anything, but I have taken a symbolic action. I want to save the planet from the global warming. I stop eating beef for 1 week or 1 day. This symbolic action. As I grow, I would say, how do we stop eating beef completely? What does it mean to do? What are the things we can do? How do we have save the forest, miles and miles of forest that we see burning and watching television and move on to see the movie? Why are we doing that? Why doesn't it hit us that we are killing ourselves? These trees are our life, but we don't care. So it's a symbol. That's why we're talking about the creation of 30 clubs. They will make this imagination. We invite them to imagine things. Competition of imagination of future life. Forget about this life. This is a terrible life. What kind of life would you like? And I try to remind them, look, planet is a spaceship. But we are in this spaceship. Young people, old people, all are in spaceship in the mood as if we are a passenger of this spaceship. And I try to emphasize with the young people, we are not passengers on this spaceship. We are the pilots. We'll have to take it someplace. Where would you like to go? It's your decision. Nobody will dictate you. You make the decision. It's your planet. It's your spaceship. Take it where you want. Make your flight plan right now. And that's the imagination. Where do we want to go? It's a pleasure trip for us. We want to go wherever we want and have fun doing that. And that's what if you listen to the older people, they went the wrong direction and almost destroyed this plan. So don't follow that flight plan. Tear it apart. Create your new flight plan and move in the direction that you want. See what kind of flight plan start with imaginary flight plan, imaginary destination, but that will finally become a real flight plan, real destination. And that's what the young people are all about. I try to remind young people, always believe, firmly believe, nothing is impossible for human beings once they make up their mind. Nothing is impossible. So no matter what they tell you, oh, this is impossible, this is not true, this will destroy this, don't believe that. You stay with your imagination and try that out and make it happen. If you keep on trying it, it will happen. That's the beauty of human mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think I speak for all of us that your talk was very inspirational. Unfortunately, we are at the end of our time. And so I know there was a lot of questions unanswered, but
no problem. You can answer yourself. No problem.
Exactly. Because discussion amongst ourselves is in some ways just as
that's
important.
Vital.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So now I turn the floor over to Dr. Jan Rocha, and he will give us some concluding remarks.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Dr. Yunus. It was very touching for me when we visited you 7 years ago in Dakar with American and German students. I remember quite well. At that time, I remember the sentence, everyone is an entrepreneur. And this made me crying inside. And I remember this sentence quite well. And it's one of my goals in Constance to bring this idea closer to everyone in the family and also to the students and to the world. I like your speech and your sentences because they are combined with a lot of pictures and touching pictures from the train and from the isolated human being to the imagination of what is possible. I would like to say thank you to you, and especially to the one easy way you answered to Jessica. You said, imagine the world you want to live in. And we need fresh imagination, young people to build this. And at last you said, everything is possible, make it happen. And I would like to say thank you to you for all of the participants here in this dialogue or in this little webinar. Perhaps we can talk again or continue with this talk.
Sure.
And I would love to do this. And I will give it back to Jared. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think that concludes our conversation today. I wish everyone have a great day. And thank you. Thank you again, Dr. Yunus.
Thank you. And keep in touch. Don't get disconnected again. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.